Jack's arms tightened around her limp body, his voice breaking as it left his throat. "Somebody help. She's not breathing." He could feel the unnatural stillness in her weight, the absence of any response. Lowering her carefully, he pressed 2 fingers to her neck. A faint pulse, so weak it barely pushed back against his skin. He locked his elbows and started chest compressions, steady, forceful, counting each one in his head, refusing to think about anything but the rhythm under his hands. "Dad," his son's voice trembled. "The car's going to blow." Jack didn't look up. Not yet. Not while she still had a chance. His palms pressed down again and again, willing her heart to fight. His breath came faster, each push carrying a silent command, "Live." A sudden cough jerked through her chest. Jack froze, eyes locked on hers as they fluttered open, clouded with confusion. "You're safe," he said quickly, relief cutting through the tension in his voice. Without another word, he slid his arms beneath her and lifted her as if she weighed nothing. He strode to the truck, his son scrambling over the seat to make space. Jack climbed in, holding her close, already pushing the truck into gear before the door slammed shut. The sirens faded into the background of Jack's focus as he kept one hand steady on the wheel, the other bracing her against him. Her voice came in a whisper, strained and uncertain. "Why? Why are you helping me?" "Because you needed it, that's all," he answered, eyes fixed forward, not asking anything more. The moment they reached the hospital, hands took her from him, voices overlapping, orders being given. Jack stayed close enough to see her chest rise and fall again, the tension in his shoulders loosening when someone said she was stable. Then the doorway filled with dark suits. They closed in, eyes sharp on him, until her voice cut through. "That's him. That's the man who saved me. I'm Victoria Hale, CEO of Hale Enterprises." Jack gave a short nod. "Good to know you'll make it." Without waiting for a reply, he turned and walked away, his son falling into step beside him. Days passed, and Jack slipped back into the rhythm that never waited for anyone, mending fences before the sun was up, hauling feed, moving from one task to the next without pause. There was no room for what had happened, no space to think about the woman in the wreck. But for Victoria, the memory refused to fade. She told her assistant to find him, her tone leaving no room for questions. The report came back blunt: widowed, ex-Marine, running a small ranch, raising his boy alone, still wrestling with the weight of medical bills that had taken more than money from him. She read the words slowly, feeling the weight of a truth she hadn't expected. This man, carrying battles of his own every single day, had risked everything for her without hesitation. Why would a man fighting to keep his own life together risk it all for a stranger? The crunch of tires on gravel pulled Jack's eyes toward the drive. A black SUV rolled to a stop, and Victoria stepped out, her presence sharp against the rough edges of his world. "You didn't have to come," Jack said, his arms folding across his chest. "I did," she replied, her voice steady but softer than before. "Because I didn't thank you properly." Her gaze shifted briefly, patched denim on the boy beside him, the wear in the lines of the house. "I don't want charity," Jack said, his tone firm enough to leave no doubt. "This isn't charity," she told him, not looking away. "It's gratitude, and maybe a little justice." Her words came without hesitation. The crash wasn't an accident. Jack's jaw shifted, but he stayed silent, waiting. "A rival company tampered with my brakes. They wanted me out of a deal worth billions." She met his eyes, her voice tightening. "I lived because you happened to be there." His gaze hardened, the question leaving him like a challenge. "And you're still going back into that fight?" "Yes," she said, her expression unflinching. "But I don't fight alone anymore." Weeks slipped into months, and her presence became a quiet constant. She found suppliers who paid him fairly, secured veterans grants that repaired what he couldn't, arranged a scholarship for his son so carefully disguised he could pretend it was just community outreach. Jack pushed back at first, each offer meeting resistance, but over time he began to see it for what it was, not an attempt to buy him, but an effort to return something that couldn't be measured. When you save someone's life, you never know how deeply they might change yours. The call came late, her voice tight but controlled. Her family had been targeted. Jack didn't hesitate. Within the hour, he was behind the wheel, his old Marine brothers already on their way. At her estate, he took his place at the gates, every muscle ready, eyes locked on the men sent to rattle her. They didn't get past him. He stayed there until the first light of morning broke, and the threat dissolved into nothing. In that quiet after, Victoria understood, his loyalty wasn't something money could ever touch. Months later, she stood before a crowd, her voice carrying over the hush that followed her name. She told them about the moment her life nearly ended, about the man who pulled her back from it without asking for anything. "Jack Miller is the reason I'm here," she said, her tone steady, not just alive, but better. The room erupted, applause breaking like a wave. Near the back, Jack's son leaned closer and whispered, pride warming every word. "That's my dad. You never know whose life you're saving, or how they might save yours in return." Her final words held the room, drawing every person to their feet. Jack didn't move. His eyes found hers across the crowd, holding for a moment longer than either spoke. There was no smile, no nod, just an understanding that hadn't reached its end. What happens when gratitude becomes something far more dangerous, and harder to walk away from? Outside, as they stepped into the night, a figure stood in the shadows, eyes tracking their every move. A phone pressed to his ear, a voice low and certain, "They're both in deeper than they know." The line went dead. Jack's hand closed around his son's shoulder, drawing him closer without a word. He didn't see the figure turn away. He didn't know the fight was only just beginning.